Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Envision weekly live webinars. My name is Burcu Gajal, VP of Customer Success here at Canvas GFX. I'll be guiding you through today's session. These interactive sessions will guide you through the key tools and workflows available in our Canvas Envision creator as well as our portal. And my goal is to enable you to create and manage digital work instructions more efficiently and seamlessly using these tips and tricks. So let me start sharing my screen. So you guys can see today's agenda and what we'll be covering today. So perfect. So here's our agenda for today's session. We'll be covering the part list, creating part lists in our creator application, including how to generate part lists from the 3D models, assign properties to specific columns using specific type of 3D properties, utilizing metadata that comes in the 3D models into Canvas Envision. And finally, I will also show you a cool advanced feature that you could link specific URLs for further instructions or ordering specific parts from a URL to add it to your Canvas Envision content. And those are all combined that you could guide it to the users to a specific part in Canvas Envision documentation. So we'll spend about 20 minutes with a live demo of these features, and I will reserve last 5 to 10 minutes for the Q&A session if there are any questions in the chat. So feel free to drop your questions into the chat at any time. Before we started, I'd like to remind you that this is just one of the Envision Weekly Live webinar series. I will be here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern covering new topics. So if you have any requests, please feel free to send me an email. I will share my email address at the end of the webinar and to guide you with the specific workflows that you're working inside of our tool. All right, let's jump into today's session. For those who are brand new to Canvas Envision platform, let me give you a quick introduction to the application. I know this is kind of repetition for some of you that has already seen this webinar. So if that's the case, just please skip forward to where I share the live session of the features that we'll be covering today. But for those who are brand new, just want to let you know that Canvas Envision is an instructional authoring platform that enables our customers to create digital model-based step-by-step work instructions. Envision, Canvas Envision platform includes a browser-based creator application with an intuitive UI that simplifies this authoring process. And our customers can also take advantage of our SDKs to embed the creator application to other systems such as PLM, MES, and even learning management systems for training use cases. In the case of PLM integrations, CAD data can be directly imported from the single source of truth, and the creator is notified if there are any changes to the models as they create the content, and then they can sustain the documentation changes with a button of a click, and all the associated 3D views, animations, exploded views, and so on and so forth will be updated on the fly. And obviously, the authors will be able to, QA and QC the documentation as they need it. But in terms of the main structure of the bill of material and how the 3D view looks and feels will be there for them to be able to have a start point. Our platform also includes an easy to manage document management portal with admin settings, user privileges, documentation permissions, as well as review and sharing features. Like that creator application app, this portal can be embedded into other systems, allowing users access documentation from widely used systems like MES or ERP. We have customers actively using these type of integrations. We have some public ones that we already shared in LinkedIn environment, and some of our customers are already using some homegrown MES systems that Envision can be embedded into. And ERP systems are also another example that the Canvas Envision documentation can be consumed from. And then finally, on the right-hand side, documents can be viewed during and after the creation in a browser for an interactive consumption experience featuring these customizable dialog prompts, 3D models, layered actions to switch between unique data types for the users to be able to switch back and forth, or the languages that they wanted to read the instructions. So they can, do their job the right time in the first time. And we also, at the bottom, as you can see in my screen, we offer the SaaS solution, SaaS version of Envision through AWS or Azure Cloud Services. And alternatively, we can also host Envision in our customers' private cloud, specific cloud systems that they have, maybe Google or other specific ones that they're using. And alternatively, we can also host Envision on-premise infrastructure. And this is a very common practice for our Canvas Envision customers, especially in the DoD industry, that they wanted to have on-prem installation. Okay, so let's dive into the Canvas Envision application UI for the live demo of today's topic. So I'm going to change my view over here. I can just put this down a little bit so I can get access to the browser. I am showing a documentation. I will share the documentation with you guys in a little bit and how it looks and feels. But what I'm showing on my screen is the 3D view of this model that I have included in this documentation. It's a 3D printer assembly. What I wanted to show for those that are pretty familiar with how the 3D viewer looks like, as you can see in terms of the assembly tree of your CAD data, as you can see on the left-hand side in the assembly tree, it comes directly from the CAD application. We do not change this information. However, inside of Envision, what you have further access to specific 3D properties of that assembly that you're bringing into Canvas environment. So for example, I'm clicking on a specific type of head screw, second head screw in this case as an example, the top part over here. And you can see in the 3D properties that you can turn on that pane in Canvas Envision from the View tab, Assembly tree, as well as the 3D properties. And you can see that I can click on it and I can get access to the instance name of that part, the colors, opacity, some of the appearance changes that I will go through in another webinar session that will walk through further details on this. But what is more important in this webinar series that we're covering today is the meta properties. So if you have a data 3D model that has associated with the metadata that you bring into Canvas Envision and you want to use that in your parts list tables, this is where you can see what is available in terms of the properties that is available for us to create that part list. So in this example, unfortunately, this is a public data, so it doesn't have a lot of meta properties, but in some customer examples, I know feature properties like density, K factor, materials, the order of the design of the parts, the time is extremely important, as well as other features, other properties that associated with that specific part that we're clicking on. But just so you guys can see as an example in here, you could see that meta properties in the 3D view, clicking on the part to see how they look. For example, in this case, the profile number is important for this type of model. And when I switch from one part to another, you will see that that meta property will change and you will get that information directly inside of Canvas Envision. And just can imagine, as a creator of this documentation, you don't have to bother the engineers who designed this model. You have this type of information in front of you, leveraging the CAD data to add it to your technical documentation content, work instructions, or maintenance manuals with a button of a click, and you also have access to it for information, for your information. Okay, so this was just a kind of like a background information on what we will be doing in terms of this. But what I wanted to do, now is just wanted to highlight one thing in here, the advanced ribbon tab over here that shows the assign URL. on the left-hand side. This is a feature that is advanced, as you can imagine, but also helps our customers to assign a specific URL to a specific part. And in some cases, this is used for commercial reasons, that you wanted to have that part to be ordered from a specific web environment, or if you have that part that has a specific PDF documentation or any other documentation type that you wanted to assign that URL to that specific part that you want the customers to click, your readers to click on. In those cases, we call those assign URLs under the advanced in the 3D viewer. It's in a location that is a little bit kind of buried, but it is an advanced feature. And if our customers are interested in learning about it, it is in our also the help manual that we created for you guys inside of the tool. But this is where we can select a part and provide a specific URL for that part that we're trying to see it in the table format. And when they see it in the table format for that specific part, they can click on that URL and it will take them to that address that they're clicking on. So it's kind of easy access to that information that they need to go to. Okay, so let's click on save. This is just to give you a kind of like a background information on this, but I'm going to save this view just to give you a quick intro on this document. This is a 3D printer installation document one of my colleagues created. It's a beautiful document. And what I wanted to show you in here with this model that we were just looking at is to create table functionality. For those are brand new to this feature, you have to make it available for you to create the table. You have to make sure you select the model that you're creating the table for, and then you will see the contextual ribbon tab will be exposed, and you will have that feature available for you to click on. Once we click on the comment in here, create table, you will have a dialog box popping up, and the first option at the top of this dialog box is the source of the data. Where are we getting this table information from? The first option as default is all parts with the groups at the top, as you can see. But if you drop down that little arrow, you have the annotated parts functionality. This is for a step-specific table. If you're creating a step for a couple of parts that you know that you annotated those parts in your documentation, you can utilize this feature. And as you can see, as soon as I select that option, all my other features below will be grayed out. Means that I can create the table using these parts that I annotated in my view, and I have options to assign them to a specific column, or change the properties and the item types in here as I go with these little arrows in here. I will talk about these in a little bit. But in terms of what I can do with that data is a little bit limited. Just so you know that this is specific to this annotated parts only option in here is the source of the table data that we're creating. If I click on the viewable parts, similar idea, you have other features that are related to your assembly 3 will be grayed out, but you will have options to sum up the quantity of some of the parts that you have in here in terms of the viewable part of these from this perspective. And then you can actually further filter this data with ignoring strings after a special character. Depending on how your data assembly tree has been structured, we have features and functionalities to ignore some of the textual string data that you have in your part number after a special character. And if I drop down this menu, I'm sure this will become more familiar on what we're trying to achieve in here. So for example, you have the part number and then hyphen the part name. If that's the case, yes, if that's the case, maybe you wanted to ignore the part name and you want to just only use the hyphen as the first hyphen as a filter, you can easily do so in the table creation. And then we have different settings in here, depending on how your CAD data has been structured, you could find what you're looking for. And again, this feature has been defined with the customer request that we already have. However, as you know, we're CAD agnostic, so we can bring CAD data from different environments, and different CAD applications have different features in terms of how these part names has been structured. So if you have any additional requests, feel free to let us know. again, we can add that in here in terms of the ignoring specific, strings, specific characters after, strings after specific characters. So in terms of the dropping down this menu, you have all parts with the groups in here as an option. And as soon as I bring this up, as you can see, the source data filters will be active just below the source area. And then you can include the parts in subassemblies, and you can exclude divisible parts if you wanted to just take those information out of your table. Again, this is something that we customize based on the customer feedback. If you have further specifications on this, feel free to let us know. We can add this into this dialog box to filter further the information for you for your tables. And then below that, we have all parts without the groups. And again, similar functionality in terms of ignoring the, including the parts in subassemblies, as well as including the visible parts in the documentation. And if you wanted to add below in terms of in this table, you have option to add further columns. And this is where the metadata properties, either in one of these columns that you wanted to drop down this menu. And if you remember from my data, the product ID and the product name were meta properties in the meta properties section that I could pick up. And then in terms of your data, this might be a list that is, way longer, and you might need to scroll down to be able to see the specific type of metadata that you want to include inside of this in this table. But you select the specific metadata that you wanted to include in that column, and then create the table based on that request. So let's create an example. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do a viewable parts just as an example to show you guys. And the first column will be the item number. The second column will be instance name. The third column will be the quantities. The fourth column will be one of the metadata that was the custom product name. Since this is a step file, that just was as an extra information that they had in the property type. So if I click OK in here, Canvas Envision is going to create that list for us. So I can go ahead, take that table in front of you as soon as the processing finishes. I think it's just still creating. Since this is a perspective that you could see the majority of the parts, so it's taking quite a bit of time, and also adding the meta properties into this part list is also a little bit time consuming, into given that how many parts we have in this model. And that's something that we could also explore further while we're looking at the model in the 3D view. So if I go ahead and click on this page that we created this table, as you can see, Canvas Envision put all the parts that I have, the quantities as well as the product name. Some of them obviously matches with the instance name, but some of them are different, given that this is the further information in the metadata properties. So again, this could be customized depending on what we have, what you have in your CAD data, and you can feel free to take this table and position it anywhere. What I'm going to do, since this list was kind of extreme, obviously, in terms of what we wanted to show, what I'm going to do is select the same model and create a table. But this time, we're going to, let me actually check the 3D data, and then we define how to sum up those quantities to get the shorter list so the end user can see what is our filtering strategy in here. So if I go down, as you guys can see, this is on the group level. I can see that, and I can also have the circuit head screws that I can group them and add the quantities into. So it doesn't really have a lot of string filters, but it does have. I can have this in a specific group that I can simply create this list better. So let's go ahead and exit from this view. Exit here. And while the model is selected, click on the create table. And what we could do is special, but this time we're going to do the sum of quantity by the same values in column B. And let's do viewable parts, still fine. And since we don't have any any characters that we want to ignore. We just wanted to sum up the quantities by the same values in the column B. And let's see how our new list is going to look like. And the last thing that I want to show you is the assignment of the URL links in the advanced view. And we will end our session after this processing. So we should definitely have a shorter table in this case. So as you can see, now that I have the quantities of my parts, I definitely have, oh, sorry, my apologies. Let me just zoom out a little bit to show you guys. Instead of 4-sheet table that I had here, that I can simply delete these and clean it up. I think it was, yeah, 4-sheet on 3-sheet only. In this case, I only have one table that has all the parts that are with the same name are being summed up. So I can see the quantities based on their parts, and I can have even the total number of the parts in here. I can create different filters to simplify this table as well. One thing that I want to mention in terms of creating smaller part lists in Envision, you can create the views like with a couple of parts in this example and create the table like we see it in here, viewable parts only. In that case, your part list will be way shorter, obviously only with the parts that you have in your view. And further, you can filter this with annotated parts. You can annotate 5 parts that is related to this specific step that you're trying to emphasize. Or maybe it's a failed step, failed parts that you want your customers to order from. And then you can create that table directly from if I drop down this list, as you can see, annotated parts only. That's going to give you much more, filtered tables that you can simply add it into your content. It's a very easy to use tool. It makes definitely a lot easier to utilize the CAD data in a table format. And these tables are Excel compatible. So if you wanted to give it to someone as basically different reasons that you wanted to email them or give them as a CSV file or Excel file, you can easily do so with basically copy and paste from the table format. One last thing that I wanted to show you, if I go into the Edit 3D model, and if I select a part in here, and if I go into the advanced mode and assign this specific part, a specific URL. Let me just put it a generic one in here just to show you guys as an example. This is our website, but this is basically created to have your end users to select that part and take them to a commercial environment or simply to a specific, maybe a white paper or PDF environment that they want to see further information as a URL address that is attached to it. I know I'm going to save this now for that part, and we're going to say, I'm just going to annotate this part so we don't have to wait for a creation of the table. And then let me do one more annotation with the instance names. I annotated 2 parts just to show you guys a way shorter list. Annotated parts only. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another column and drop down this list. And this time, as you can see, the URL will be exposed. Since Envision knows that in the 3D view, I assign parts to a specific hyperlinks, and then I can hit OK. Envision is going to give me that 2-part table, that the one that we assigned with the URL, and the other one doesn't have it. Obviously, it was just an example, but you can see that an user can click on this, the URL, and it will take them to that the hyperlink that we attached to it. Cool. So that brings us to the end of today's session. I'm going to stop sharing and going back to my to the end of my my slides. This is my email address. If you have any feedback, any questions, or any topics that you want me to cover in the next session, please feel free to email me. I'm available to support you in any way I can. I hope you find this introduction to part list helpful, and you'll be utilizing in your Canvas Envision trial. Don't forget, this is just one of the Canvas Envision webinar live series. Every week, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're here to cover different topics. Again, your feedback will be appreciated if you have any topics that you want me to cover. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. Have a great day.